a couple of years ago, when I first graduated from university, my first job, I couldn't find a job in the city that I lived in, and my very first job straight out of university was picking mushrooms at a mushroom farm. And what I had to do was I had to wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and hop on my car. It was winter time, so I had to pour hot water onto my car's door handle and onto my car's windshield to defrost some of the ice that built up on there. And it would take me another 50 minutes to drive to where the mushroom farm was. And what I had to do was, and I had to work there for 12 hours a day, non-stop, because I was not paid on an hourly basis. I was paid on a piece by piece basis. So I got paid every box of mushrooms I picked. And the job was so repetitive, and I was very disappointed in myself because obviously I was a university graduate. I spent a lot of time studying, and this was not how I envisioned how my career would start. So I was very disappointed in myself, and I quitted the job 3 days, only 3 days after starting, and I didn't even take my paycheck before I left. And that was how my career started. And over the following couple of months, I listened to a lot of podcast episodes, and I read a lot of books. I listened to a lot of I had a conversation with people who were at the top of their game to learn how they did it, and some and I would like to share with you some of the principles and some of the tips that I learned from doing so. And my first tip is to keep it. It is the fact that sometimes you need to sacrifice things in order to go ahead. The Newton's law of motion states that in order to get ahead, you need to push something. So think of it like a rocket, right? The rocket expels high speed gas downward to push the rocket upwards. And I think this applies in business as well. This applies to personal finances as well. If you want to achieve anything great, if you want to start a business or if you want to start making money online, but you have a full-time 9 to 5 job, you can't expect to achieve that thing, to achieve whatever you think is of great value without sacrificing anything. It could be your time, it could be your energy, it could be your social life, anything of great value. You need to sacrifice. You're gonna have to sacrifice something in order to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And this is what I do. So when I build a business, I always ask myself whether what I need to sacrifice and what I need to give up in order to achieve that thing. And if I'm not willing, or if I'm unable to sacrifice that thing, I know I can't expect to achieve whatever I want to achieve. And I think the second tip is to just keep it simple. A lot of people, before they start doing anything, they would want to learn every piece of information they can. They want to know every single fact they can find, because they are afraid that they can potentially make an uninformed decision. They think they might make the wrong decision. So if in the case of starting a business, they might want to learn every single courses out there on the internet about starting a business. Whereas what they should be doing is just starting a business right now and figure things out as you go. And the third piece of advice I think I would give is to and the third piece of advice I think I would give is, when you are making a difficult decision, you would want to ask two people. You would want to ask your 8-year-old self, and you want to ask your 80-year-old self. And when you ask your 80-year-old self, you understand that nothing really matters. You can imagine when you are lying there on the bed of a hospital, in a ward, you understand nothing really matters, right? The decisions you're about to make, the decisions you made in the past, and the decisions you're about to make in the future, it doesn't matter. No matter how much money you make, no matter how many people you love you, they're all going to die, and it is all going to come to an end. And when you ask your 8-year-old self, you understand that life doesn't have to be serious at all. Life doesn't have to be serious all the time, and you should have fun and enjoy the process. And the last thing I learned is just never to stop learning, really, because whenever I stop learning, I get that sense of anxiety, and I get that sense of, okay, I'm being left behind by the world, because the world around us is constantly changing and evolving, and that is true for our income, that is true for our jobs, that is true for our businesses. If we're not constantly changing and adapting, the world is going to leave us behind. A couple of years ago, when I worked at a company, I had a manager who worked at a very prominent company here in Australia called Qantas, and Qantas is a very famous, perhaps one of the biggest airlines here in Australia. But he worked there for 24 years before he was let go. So it really goes on to I think it really goes on to show, no matter how loyal you are to a company, no matter how valuable you think you are, and no matter how good you think your services and goods are, in this world, none of that matters if you're not willing to listen and adapt to your customers. If you're not willing to listen and adapt to this changing world, then you will be left behind. And if you are not constantly learning and improving, you are being left behind. You are actually moving backwards. So I think in this day and age, making money online, starting an online business is actually one of the best ways to make money. And I really admire the fact that there are people out there, e-commerce entrepreneurs out there, who are making major impacts in the world by finding the product and finding a solution to a problem that is yet to be solved, and they can solve the problem with their products. One of the biggest challenges I've seen people make when they first start out doing e-commerce is the fact that they have a very good product idea. They know how to find a product that is likely going to sell. They understand how to find the demand, where the demand is in the market. But what they cannot do is finding a good, reliable supplier, a good, reliable manufacturer to meet their demand, to satisfy their demand. So what I've done is I've prepared a free guide on how you can find the most reliable manufacturer, the most reliable supplier, the 5 steps to finding a very, very reliable, very, very good supplier or manufacturer to turn your product idea into reality. I've put the link to download the guide in the description box below. Or alternatively, if you would like to know how you can scale up your business, how you can increase your sales and convert more leads into paying customers, and how you can use social media to drive the growth of your potential customers, you can also submit an application to have a conversation directly with me. And in that conversation, I don't charge you anything. I would sit down and discuss with you about how you can improve, how you can win more customers and achieve more sales. I'll see you in the next video.